Hello everyone. Thank you, Sami, for a nice introduction of the whole program of the day. As Sami explained, today we're going to start the program with a panel discussion on shared memories, divided histories. I have the pleasure of having present with me Cecile Canut as well as Tobias Gurniak. Today, across Europe in general, Roma communities remain among one of the most marginalized populations, facing persistent inequalities in education, in employment, in housing, in political representation, as well as cultural visibility. In order to discuss all of these super important topics and very relevant even nowadays, I have present with us, with my utmost pleasure to meet and to discuss further with Professor Cecile Canut, one of Europe's leading scholars in social linguistics as well as political anthropology. Cecile, welcome.
Thank
you. She's a full professor at University Paris-Cité and a member of the Institut Universitaire de France, one of the highest academic distinctions in France. For decades, her research has explored language, power, migration, colonialism, and the politics of representation. Or Tobias Gurniak. Toby is a Roma filmmaker, an activist, a mentor, speaker, creator of the internationally recognized Gurniak method, for which you're going to be telling us a little bit more today. The Gurniak method is a framework for leadership, for resilience, and human development. His story is absolutely extraordinary. He's going to talk about his personal experience being born in Poland, fled in racist violence as a young Roma, and then eventually arriving in the United Kingdom, homeless and with absolute knowledge, no knowledge of English. So you managed to transform all of these experiences into a lifelong journey and commitment to empowering marginalized communities. For his contributions to society, he received the title of Member of the Order of the British Empire from Buckingham Palace, which is quite a distinct achievement, I say. So both of you definitely work with stories in different ways, in different aspects and perspectives. Cecile, you work more through research, more through learning language and documentary film, whereas Toby, you're more practice-based, you've lived through the experience, the activism, and managed to actually achieve cultural leadership. I would like to begin the discussion today with a profound question. What does it mean to inherit a history that was rarely written by young people?
Okay. First of all, I want to thank you, Sami and Rina, and all people who are working for this beautiful festival, because it's rare, and I am very happy to be here, because also of because inside your question there's this kind of event that we need more and everywhere. We don't have that in France, in a lot of places. There is a little thing in Germany, but so first I want to thank everybody, and so we can directly enter in the question. This very important dimension. The first thing I wanted to say is that we always had written history, and the question is who write for whom, and who had the right to write and to be institutionally recognized with this kind of. So the first thing, that history, we can just think about the writing dimension, because we are in a film festival, and okay, we can say that we have kind of narrative in films too, but the first thing is that we have also, as you said, I am also a social linguist, and so I'm very interested about the way we talk about and the way we can manifest history without talking. For example, with a gesture, or with the kind of the way we are showing ourselves, or the way. So all I will say today here, it's very linked to my encounter with Stefka Stefanova Nikolova and all her family, who are from Nadezhda, which is a neighborhood in Bulgaria, in Sliven, in a little town in Bulgaria. And I learned everything there, but just by the way of talking. So nothing is written, but we share, like, also next year it will be 20 years together. And I share something that what kind of history of this kind of neighborhood, because it's a walled neighborhood. It exists in Bulgaria already in 2026. So there is a kind of tunnel where you can enter. Oh, sorry, I forget also your translation. Okay. We can imagine that history, it's also something that it's an experience we share. And it's a question of body or everything that is part of something that we inheritate, but which can be not just put in words, but also put in images, in sounds and voices. And so it's a very also sensitive thing. So I really, I'm really, how I can say that, I really want to thank Stefka and all the family, because I had this experience with them, and I understand day by day how you can feel history, and how it was really clear that they want all the family and all other family to say something about that, but not directly to write. Stefka, she's writing poetry, but also to show and to act. So I will give you the microphone, maybe.
Thank you. Brilliant. First of all, thank you for having us here. It's incredible. So thank you for Roland for inviting us and having this film played here and having a discussion today. So thank you. And to Saura Monusha, Romana, Deam Sasta Bachtale, Palikirautu Mengi Sauran Kita Jivez. For me, this question is a very deep question, because history is written by the winners. Mm-hmm. And the Roma weren't the winners. So our history was told by people that didn't like us. So the narrative of the story of Roma wasn't positive. But the stories that were told for our grandmothers, our grandfathers, our mothers, our fathers were beautiful. The stories I remember from my grandmother and my mother was, Roma people were strong people. Roma people were amazing people. But the narrative in the world was very different. So this is what happens. We have this huge gap in the world and in the history and in our culture.
Cecile, your work definitely has to do a lot with language, and how language shapes society, shapes history, shapes culture, shapes social constructs, and so on. How has language, from your own perspective, how have you noticed that language has actually historically been used to define Roma people, rather than allowing Roma to define themselves?
Mm-hmm. It will be in the continuation of what you say, because the very important thing is also who is speaking with what language, and which can be very different in each European country, but it's also the dominant, it's everywhere, it's the dominant language, was or national or official language that is the language which can say something about the others. And the problem of academic, where I'm from, because the academic fields, they begin to think about who speak for whom and why the first concern. But it's also a very interesting word, because they said the first concern have to speak, but they said we will give them the right to speak, but in fact they never stopped and said, okay, maybe I don't have to give the voice to someone, but they will take it. And it happens now. In France, it's a beginning. We can see some very interesting political collective who are taking the places, the position, and they went to in front of the assembly, to the main power political assembly, and they asked for example, to recognize the Holocaust. And more than the Holocaust, they asked for in France to recognize the way people were in France during the war, put in lager, it was really completely unknown. And now there is some kind of voices were heard, but it's really it's the problem. It's also so the language, the experiences were which were done in, for example, to write a book in two languages, in Romanes and in France. For example, we had that in the big exhibition with Barvalo. But the question is not just who can write, who can put the Romanes. It was a good idea, it was nice to have the Romanes in this book. But the question is who hear, who look? And it's always the problem that they said, okay, it was a big problem because there were so many dialects, so how we can understand each other. But it's a dominant ideology to say, oh, there is so many dialects, they can't understand each other, but it's false. And it was the same when I used to work in Africa. The colonial power said that there is so many languages, so we will put French because they will be okay all together. It was just a colonial ideological position. So I think that we saw some, and today it's a very good example because it's the first time for me to hear something translated in Romanes. It's the first time for me, so it's very nice to understand that we have to hear and to learn languages that are supposed to be not, I don't know, all the words you can have important or not real languages, because, but in fact, all languages are constructed, invited. French was just before it was not existing, and it's just a political creation from bourgeoisie, from France, and they create French language. It's just a creation. So why Romanes can't be a creation too? If we want to homogenize or not, it's not our position. We don't have to say anything about that. People will decide. But it's important to show that at the end, I saw that in Bulgaria, in Nadezhda, people thought that they don't have to write, for example, in Romanes. And Stefka, when one day Stefka came in France at one festival, and she discovered that some writers were writing in Romanes. And she came back in the train and she wrote her first poem in Romanes. And it's really a question of ideology. So she realized that it was possible, and now she's writing in Romanes and Obors, but she realized that it was possible. So you see how it can make people how do you say that? So unhappy with this kind of division, hierarchization, and all.
Definitely, language plays a big role also how history is written. The first time I have ever thought so deeply about language was when I understood that even, for instance, during the American War in Vietnam, so what soldiers were experiencing throughout the war, after they were coming back home, that their souls were totally crushed, their main mental capabilities were absolutely crushed. And people started, like the Americans, they decided to call this kind of shock, like shell shock. So it took a lot of time for it to be actually called a trauma.
Mm-hmm.
This was one of the first times that just made me think so deep about language and what it means and why it exists as it exists. Where are we to question even words nowadays, because most of the times we, not always, but I mean the general population gets something served and you just move on, while you never stop to reflect what it is actually, what kind of history are you actually taking forward, how are you affecting maybe some specific people. So it really made me think and reflect how I express as well, because there are some things that are so much normalized, but exactly because they're too normalized doesn't make them correct. As such, language plays a huge role, as we're all basically confirming as well. This is a long-going topic in world history and so on. I want to know, Tobias, because I know you're also into art and music, and you're also a hip-hop artist, which clearly you also work a lot with words. How have you used language to actually push forward any kind of like activism or slogan, or I don't know, any kind of perspective that you believe that should actually be out there through music?
Thank you.
I čitanje kada ste put važno je makana Tobias mangati počal put star koristizan čir kaj to arti te vakeresti ripuća.
In that culture, especially in the Roma culture, music is breakfast. Dance is breakfast. It's in our heart and it's in our souls. For us not to speak is one of the hardest things to do. You ask a Roma one question, they'll sit with you and talk with you for hours.
Ko Roma I muzika citani doručkos, te kjelibe isto si doručkos. A meni te vakeresti terapicis si gut an.
Within our culture, speech is very important. And all our history was passed on just by language. It's not written. It's only passed on from generation into generation. The only reason I know so much about my culture, because there were so many elders who shared their stories with me. And they taught me so many lessons. And they taught me so much about my culture. And what they did, they gave me pride. So when someone says the word Roma, to me means power, means strength, means resilience, means fire, means beauty. To the world, it means something different. So I think the activism through music, dance, film, creativity, sometimes is the best way to connect with the world. Because if we speak, sometimes it's not enough. But if we dance, and when we sing, and when we tell stories, that's when the magic comes alive.
Că amari cultura, amen oprice sale si na nevišine, nego sasitane vakerdeka ti generacija, ti generacija. Me sam priče s kešunzum si katar opore. Em kana vakiana mangia kana katoro mamu su tiza vakata polosi, kadia jacina, amen katari muzika, kato arti, vakerasa, pošto samo te vakerasa ne dovoljno, nego preko i muzika, o arti, sa, kato filmja, amen vakerasa, kato ponosi, amorosi.
And there is a word that many people understand when we talk about gladiators. And when everyone says a gladiator, they imagine somebody strong and powerful and ready to fight and to die. Just that one word means so much. I would love for all our young people, the next future generation, to have the same idea when we say the word Roma.
Kana vakiana kato gladiatoria, amen otma mislize sa kajeci, budja pomanuš, Boris Lapes. So magdava me kato poneve generacijska našuna o Lafi i Roma, te mi sidem kod isto način nisarkano kjorstve o gladiator.
Toby, your own life story definitely moves from hardship, from exclusion to social leadership. Please tell us more about this, and how did you manage to carry all of these difficult memories into a successful life that kind of defined your future? Like, how did you manage to go throughout this whole process?
To bi tu kataro Satella Aripies Senetut tu uspizan te uces opre, așa va crede să mă uspizan că
Through all the racism, violence, abuse that I went through as a child, just because I was brown, just because I was Roma, they taught me one thing. They taught me what not to be.
Satella Aripies Senema, samo kai siumas kafeno, em saka das kavas sat yextvari, so tenauva.
And then I took these lessons and I wanted to be better. I wanted to be more, but not because I wanted to, because I knew I was. And in the world where I was brought up, where the world hated me, and I never seen any other Roma who were phenomenal, amazing, rich, successful, we were all struggling. Why did I, as a child, knew somewhere inside here that we are more? This word Roma means more.
Saka da Aripies susține că era spune că ne tova pobut, po tu po preste, ana nekada suske ne misiza studiamo, suske shai. Saka da kana lasa men morat era stusvetus.
And for me I was looking for a teacher. I was looking for a friend. I was looking for somebody to help me, but no one was there. So I made a decision, I made a vow to become that for others. This is how I decided to lead. This is how I decided to change my circumstances and change others' circumstances. So I became the big brother, I became the dad, I became the mum, I became the auntie uncle. I became for people what I needed, which was somebody who would listen, who would help, who would guide, because that didn't exist for me.
Neka nas ima sponciko Romero da vas je učitelji, je kamal, filosofe rešaj pomožili smo. Ali kad deska nam meriš izulto val, daj, papus, mamus, pibi, kaj te pomoži za savanu je kad nem liko stovelas.
And the most beautiful thing I learned during that journey was this. The world told me I was stupid. The world told me I was worthless. The world told me I'll never become anything. Till one day I discovered what I am is a genius. But not the kind of genius everyone else expects me to be in education. I was a genius in life because of my life experience. And that life experience allowed me to discover that I'm not the only genius. There's millions of geniuses sat around me. They just don't know it yet. They were lied to. So I'm going to come and tell them the truth. I'm going to show them the truth. I'm going to show them so they can look in the mirror and see who they truly are, not what the world tells them they are.
So, but vakerde învăchier nas mangi că te osetizamo că si un lupo, că nas un vredno ništosti. Ali me su sazna izuk kada că ne si un geni, ne šansa. Kad leske nas un samo me genije, nego si milioni avera che si tane genije, ali genijes em nađan, ali nađan. Kad leske me morate vakjeravanje kaj I on si tane.
And for me, the beautiful thing with my journey is this. I'm a father of 6. I have 6 beautiful children. And all my children live a life with pride. When they say the word Roma, they know what it means. There's strength in it. There's no weakness. There's no badness in it. There's only goodness and strength because I had a good role model. And I would wish and I want to see more role models out there in the world, Roma who are doing phenomenal, to show them on screens like this. Because many of our children never seen one, never heard of one, and never experienced one. And I think this is what we need to do more in the world, to show our children people like that exist, and they are your people.
Iekator mereu ponos este că siu dat șove čalengu. Mene de čalenci ca vumne kai kankašunen o lafti Roma, de čalen kai si ponosi, kai si I halči jako. A nakon mi sizden kai kakalafi te peralo le teleri halči. Kad leske sa kaka, karinke kaka ekrani, Valazla put e magava kai to ven buta vera manushati ka kerena verenge to venya.
We have discussed also yesterday a little bit on the concept of memory, how memory is never just individual, it's always collective memory. We've also talked a lot how your own memory, your own pride, identity has been actually inherited from your grandparents, parents, and so on, to you one day being super proud to be called I'm Roma. Cecile, through your research as well as documentary films, I'm very interested to know a little bit more about what were the most prevalent ways that you noticed through research and film that the Roma were actually preserving their history throughout the years. Like, what kind of ways did you notice most, or the most interesting or most intricate ones?
In memoria si futbalno, kad in memoria amen to visto che lo keras azizas, en keras sto vel ponosno. Cecil, šajna kjer sem je katero teksti, kaj filmi, star, šaj amen azizas kantina kesto.
I want to make link with what you said, Toby, because it makes me think about one moment. It was at the beginning of our experiment. We said that we did a film experience. At the beginning, it was not clear where we will go together to do something with this camera. Everybody could take it, and it was like, okay, we will see. But at the end, I think we did something like a kind of memory film, a kind of archives film. I don't know what we will call it, but in fact, I think people wanted to write with the camera something which will become a kind of history of the neighbor. So I'll let you.
Nekaj pošmizamo filmi si ne samo sa te testirizas, ama tuj keras pogut čam kaj filmista mangaste pishidas te vakeras, ente vakeras si car memoria.
But the link with you to me is, I remember one day, Stefka, at the beginning, she was reading to her grandmother a text she wrote for the books she published in France, because she didn't want to publish it in Bulgaria, because she was afraid.
Okay.
You see? So she read to her grandmother, and the grandmother said, okay, I abstract the thing, but it was like, okay, it's good, my child, but be careful, because the Bulgarian, they have the knife. She said that they had the knife, and you never know. So these trends you have, it's incredible. We feel it, and we saw how you managed to have it. She had the kind of trend you mentioned. Stefka, she wanted to do something. She wanted to speak to everybody. She wanted to complain. She was really strong woman, because she was the only one on all the neighborhood. But you know, when she heard the grandmother say that, she was like, okay. So it's interesting, because the memories, and the grandmother speaks about her experience, and she said, you know, it was war, I was alone, they took my child, and she began to have a long story about all the terrible things she experienced. So it's always so difficult to get away from all this kind of very interesting position the elderly had. And the grandmother said, she didn't say, you don't have to do that, you don't have to speak. But she was saying something very interesting. In fact, she was saying, maybe you have to think of the path you will take. And maybe you have to be cunning, I think we said in English. You have to be very intelligent and I don't know exactly the word, but to take a very good path, but not to go straight on and go from. It was really in this kind of situation because they are in Bulgaria and there is a very big anti-Gypsyism, anti-Roma, anti everything, and they experience a lot of very hard racism. So, but it's interesting that in fact memories was taking kind of other ways during this experience of films. But I will let you first, and I will add something.
Sama galate povezivame to pisasi, karakter stekle sa pšizaspi knjiga si ne pšizaspi francuska, suski Bulgarija čisto vaš. Kanagite, kjer prema mosa, kaj pšizaspi teksti ko romanes, lahko malo so kjer ok, lačes, ali pazis sokerca. Se ki Bulgarija šaj obukarča šaven čurjasa, ki gava terasna ki direktni, kada la terasna te na osetizo ki baš lačes. A tu so terasna ki kaj kana ok, nastavis ali pazis. Matik odrom samo pravo, nego probisto lespo opažljivo.
Thank you. So just 2 words to answer more precisely your question is that the archive, the songs, for example, the images, the photos, all this kind of materiality of life was very important during all these years because they always taught something about the history, the memories, and so it's also a very materialist, I think, dimension of our films because it's and also today for example in Facebook, the young people. They are using now, I don't know if you have that in your countries, but in Bulgaria, they are using old photos, and they begin to say, okay, one guy in the neighborhood said, okay, you see my uncle, he died, but he was taking care about the garden, the little square on the neighborhood. And now he does the same, like his uncle, and he plant trees and he put some benches and some kind of things. They are using the memory of acts so to explain how they act now, but it's always anchored in this kind of memories with photos or with archives or with the video, for example, of marriage, of this kind of wedding, this kind of things.
Povezivamo anche neko pitanje, sakadla slike, skadla filmja, video, sa su svi, jedna je stara archiva romane istoriato. Magari povezivamo stradamente con Cristina, con Facebook, na primjer, Genesko papus, časek slika, artikla, obahča, celuluza, posle očave, isto posle kjerna slično hajčisa prikendeoni. Ideal, sakadala slike s videoja, filmja, si kaj amente kontizas kadali, kadala se ne vodi.
Yes, I would just add that for me it's a really political way of acting because it's you can have these direct discourses, but all these acts and the role of the social media are very political. But it was just
Avanti si sakaka sebe pri politika. Tu šao veliki to pravo drom, a sakadla krivine so kerca si samo sebe pri politika.
Material and immaterial cultural heritage definitely plays a big role in preserving history, archiving it. When we're archiving it, we're actually believing in it, and it's harder to rewrite it. So definitely, even for the context of Kosovo, this is quite a topic that even for the Albanian culture and art and stuff, it's just now actually starting to be properly archived and written and so on. So there's so much still to be done, even for Roma community in Kosovo. Definitely we're all touching upon these topics that because of education, because of conditions of life, because of lack of opportunities, so many different factors play a role that even if we were to start archiving the Roma history in Kosovo, it would still be done by someone who's not part of Roma. Again, going back to what we're talking about. So definitely social changes take a lot more time to actually be present, to be there. But with every incentive, with every activity, with every project, with every activism act, we're getting much closer to that. We also discussed it a little bit yesterday that thankfully also education attendance in Kosovo is being increased for Roma community, which is a very good aspect. While in the last years it was decreasing, so I personally, because not only because I work in education, but I truly believe that for everything, any kind of success in our lives, we have to first be educated. So it's really a push forward also for the Roma youngsters and kids and community in Kosovo that through education we will be able to actually achieve anything that we want.
Svakako slike s filmima, kjerna istorija, magari fotografem ko Albanca isto, nas je nekako početku z pazi mesta, nego enako zadnjo dešavo šmisalo pobud arhive, pobud ljudi, pobud tekstija, kretova historija, isto ko romana pošmisalo po Hari. Sam preko filmi se prekalo slike, preko videa, vsaka kao spizla pesma, ga isto te povezila kaj Kosova je edukacija ko zadnju dešava linijamo, a kaj napoš mi saj pali to perel, en verujstava kaj preko edukacija stava nuše uspizla.
Toby, you created a framework for resilience, for leadership, and for human development. I would really love it if you could tell us a little bit more about the Cognac method. Is it something that people can do on their own? Is it a mindset? Is it a different approach? Is it a set of practical methods? What is it? Please tell us more.
Toby tu Geran what was the
What's the name?
method?
The Gorniak?
Gorniak.
Yeah, the Gorniak
Gorniak.
method.
Gorniak metoda che erano tu, așa că resami sarsi în casa, rasi că tu misista, că tu cherța aici, și așa că se nu više lucră.
So the Gorniak method has many fundamentals, but they're based on the individual. So there is a framework, but a framework adapts like water to what it's contained in. To my understanding is we need fundamentals. And many people have forgotten the basics. So there are 5 fundamentals: respect, peace, love, unity, and having fun. First of all, you need to learn them, then you need to embody them, then you need to act them, and then you need to be them. Once you master these 5 elements, then we look at who are you? Who do you want to be? Where do you come from? And where do you want to go? And those principles allow you to discover everything about yourself. There's a very vital element in the Gorniak method, which is part of hip-hop culture, which is called knowledge of self. Once one knows itself, it can actually discover what it wants to do. Many times we're confused in the world about our purpose, what we should be doing, because mum says this, dad says that, school says this, government says that. So who am I?
Gorniak metoda sila 5 glavnog principja that Toby will tell us one by one.
Respect,
Respekti,
peace,
rahacije ili mirnosti,
love,
mangipe,
unity,
uniteti,
and having fun.
taj to overtumen
Te Bashavan. Te Bashavan. Sarchabora pesche Bashavan.
Канадянца Карла, панч принципия валязла прво те си Джостен, после те Актруизесен, после това Вестен. Prema kakava principia si glavno osoba che metoda.
So with each person in the program that's done the program, usually takes around 12 months, because things have to happen day to day for you to be challenged, for you to overcome, for you to think about, process, and then act. So there's many layers to the program and to the system of the method. But the most beautiful thing about it is you actually get to discover who you are and what you are capable of doing. So we take away all the labels that the world has gave you. That includes your family, that includes your heritage, that includes your culture. And we look at you as an individual. And once we discover you as an individual, you get to make choices. So when I was born, I didn't have a choice about if I was going to be Catholic or I was not going to be Catholic, because my family decided. So one of the things that I've learned during that journey was I gave my children a choice. And now my children choose who they want to be, how they want to walk, how they want to talk, how they want to behave, what morals and principles they want to live by. I do tell them these are mine, and this is a choice of the world. You choose which one suits to you. So during the method, it's all about you discovering your genius and what your genius is. And many of us have different geniuses: singing, dancing, building, making, many different geniuses. So the method is built on you discovering who you're going to become in the future.
Какя гоне метода лела джико дешутуи амасе, суски си паро процеси, те авазти ке катате кеш косиату. Кана джанца дешту косиату, kada si već kana uspizan. Kada ste me talenge isto vakirava, kaj me nasi neman mogućnosti, ali tu menge vakirava, kaj tu men te birizen kako ven tu men. Tu men morate za neko sem tu men. Например, isto vakci vakirava vengi kaj kosiume, a ke me soveruizava, kako si soveruizla o narodos. Tu men birizen kako ven tu men.
And this is delivered through all different types of things. So it could be delivered through dancing, singing, filmmaking, graffiti, anything to do activity-wise. We could be doing gardening. So it could be used as any element, any interest that you have as a person. We use that as a fundamental to then to build on. So we don't tell you what we want you to do. We discover what you're good at, and we use that to base what we're going to build from.
Кога кела песка, то различното сваи, музика, кели бе, бахча, сем, разно авера активитетја, и каде ске амена магастава красен, ге косијан ту, него терапас, ко ту мисли са сјамен, ко ту веруј се, према кадате пешу.
Where do we sign in?
Exactly. It definitely, I mean, it seems like an approach that anyone would benefit from.
Yes.
It's life definitely takes you places. Let's put it in a mild, modest way. It takes you places from being born into disadvantageous conditional, let's say, or situational, life situation that no one weren't asked for it. You were literally just born somewhere to your whole life being determined from that moment on. At some point, definitely what you're doing is incredible, because people, not all of them reflect and are conscious throughout their life, so they will find that way themselves. So it's beautiful to actually have found this type of passion to just guide people to find who they are, to let go of the stresses of life, and really understand what makes them happy.
Buci važno kakatu su keran, jer ko životos men budka šalze sa to velike si sa tuke keran, ke te vakerala, mi to mogu čizel, se te ala kaskoj koji amen, no vas srećno si utnaš.
Cecile, considering that you're a scholar, you're absolutely incredible in academia and the whole research that you've done, how important do you think academics are actually to preserve the history, to put out their proper discourse for social, cultural topics and so on? Because we're talking that Roma history is rarely written. So actually through academia and through all of the research and the work, how important do you think is nowadays the work you do to actually preserve the history, write it, and so on?
Rekao i akademija i kada su pišile sa si put važno, kaj ti pazizaltes i istorija. Cecile, prva keresam je karakteribuci ki boš si važno, kaj sakadla tekstja, sakadla materijalija, kaj amen te pazizal si istorija.
I think I begin with the question of writing. I think we are here in a film festival. So I think that one thing, there is a lot of things that we can do and we have to do. And we have to change the way to speak about all of these kind of things. But the first thing is that maybe we have to do also other things than writing books, for example. It's important, but it's not there. So the question of doing things with people together, what we call co-creation or co-research or research co-creation. Well, in academia now, it's a way to do, to change and to not to erase all this history, all this thing, but to, it's also a way to not control this kind of history, and one of the time to write. Even if we said, okay, we will hear this guy, he will tell us something, but no, we have to say how also you want to produce knowledge. Because knowledge is not, we think that it's objective in academic science, that is an objective history, objective. But in fact, it's not, you know. It's always very hard to make the border.
Sam tekstom materijal jest najbolj važno, čak i ako nam vakterasa kada i ako se jedan projekt festivali filmisko, ki delate ne samo kada važno, ali kada vakterasa като tekstalno materijal su si važno, su skramen vakterasa, istorija sa su si, morate počelite ki delca tačno si, kada men te pazizas, te tena preciză scarane gotovelamen pazime.
So you were talking about education. And I think that, for example, we are now doing we are preparing a project about archives, Roma archives. But the thing is that we have to be, think about who will do this project, and it's Roma who have to do this project. And the problem is that we don't have a lot of, for example, PhD for our researchers to do this kind of project. So the very important thing first in academia, I think, it's to think about how Roma people will do this kind of project, will enter the university, will come to do that, because we don't have, it's not Getty who have to do that, it's Roma people. But the thing also is that Roma people are really rejected in Bulgaria, for example. We have one very important colleague called Ognian Isaev, but it's just that he is the only one who can really be part of our project in Bulgaria. So it's important to think about this kind of institutional problem, an institutional question, because it's even in France it's very hard. We have beautiful archives of Matteo Maximov, who were maybe a very important Romani writer in France, and he showed a lot of things between in the 70s or something. And it's Super 8 films, but they are sleeping in a library. So it's very important that some kind of work in academia have to be done. We have to do this kind of work to include all people who can work on this kind of archive, or to do something with that. But we have to really think about the filmic dimension of the memories, but also the filmic action now, how we can present that, for example, who will do it. And so it's a lot of question, because we don't have also solutions for France and Bulgaria, for example. Maybe it depends. In Romania, for example, there is a lot of very important actions in Romani education and academy.
Cara aquela peça que mencionam isto é projekti kaj te ki akademia kaj te pišilas pobud samo problemi si kaj valjaznom je manuša postane akademično po česa, na primjer doktoratura, i kada se vam je utare ste hante rakaz, sa na primjer ki Bulgarija si samo jekte romejske džanasa kaj sitano spremno kada bucake, ki Francuska isto si neamen dosta, samo si neko kaj bešna, ki neko buca akademično, kaj bešna, ki biblioteka, kaj godelu pre, ali si bud važno te helpis manušenku si tane akademično pouspešno, možda ki Romunija si hari više kaj si kaka, ali pamen lateralne ki Francuske Bugarska kaj si parestama najvažno si kaj o roman morate nekad lako kala kerenkala memorije si isto.
Your approach is definitely very inclusive approach, and it's not always easy, especially when we're designing programs or research designs or anything that has to do with any target population. This is generally also something that I always say, it's not that it's harder, it's not that it's more complicated, it's just different. With any target population you work with, you have to specify it to that target population. Why still nowadays we have to, in a way, take responsibility even before you're starting developing a project, an initiative, an approach, or anything else, exactly because of this component. It's not always just including the target population in some part of the project. It's important for them to be part of it from the beginning, from its initiation, the design, with everything, and throughout implementation. So nowadays, even though there's so many factors that might affect it, such as we said, like level of education, for instance, in terms of academic research, it's definitely a responsibility also to cultural practitioners, researchers, artists, and so on, to take it upon themselves to best represent the population they're working with or for. Nowadays, so many young Roma navigate through different personalities, different identities. I mean, including the Roma identity, including national identity. Like, you were born in Poland, you went to live in England, you have 6 kids. Now your 6 kids are second generation immigrants. How do you think that they're gonna be able to embrace all of these identities, especially in a world that even nowadays people also consider themselves a lot as a global citizen? Like, we're trying to kind of move away from borders as much as we can, even though last developments in the world show us a little bit differently, but there's a strong tentative also kind of consider yourself as a global citizen, as European identity on top of everything. So how do you think your kids are going to be able to maneuver the identity, the different identities that they will at some point, think about it and reflect, and how will they maneuver having to choose one or two, or what do you think about it?
Sad su că nas je būt važno, kada htjela posjetiti komunitetiza na ne pareste nego sisal o averadikna, kana diksatu kibuci, znači manci interesi komunitetiza mora normalno to veliko akademično, uspešno, ali morate dikjel pestačno za si na ne pareste nego sad tu manca tela interesi kada. To bi tu ševa kjer sam gledali pogled to identiteti, pošto tu već kad i Poljska, ki Engleska, pa ki Evropa, ki Ranbud, starte reći, ali je tu kao kjer stabilize, na primjer, kad to sakadla kulture, sakadla identiteti.
Yeah, very, very important question. For me, what I'm really lucky is with my children, they know they have more than one. We live in a world where everyone wants you just to have one. Like, if you did your DNA, how many ancestors from all around the world would you have? Who is crazy enough to believe that they're one thing, that they're pure? A pure race doesn't exist. It does not exist. And I know because I was part of research and I've seen so many other researchers of this, a pure race does not exist. We all have mixed for thousands and millions of years. That's the only reason me and you are sat here today. Because someone millions of years ago mixed with millions of people and me and you ended up here today. So for me, one of the things I love is with my children, we share this knowledge that we are not one. We have multiple things. As a father, as a son, as a friend, as a neighbor, as Polish, as Roma, as a citizen to the world. I am many things. And that's what makes me Toby.
Va but la čo pitanje someva kerava mereća menje kaj amena siam samo na nemi samo jekni amenšna je la me pobu kana lasa dedikas o DNK maro ili bilo kasko sajma došengo ona na postojzla samo jek identitet ili jek nacija kaj tu pripadisa. Като хиляда avera безчасності мешисало ідентитеті, кодлески нієк мануш на постойна силес єк КДНК. Когда исто мева терава мереча венге, манге кай амена сям єк, амен ся мешиме. Като хиляда безчасно на кине сон мануша мешисале, когда керас манге туто васа каринга авдзиц. Amen. Glory to us.
So I think what we need to get away from is this whole identity and what it really means. Because identity means everything, but it's many things, not just one thing. And I think society wants us to choose one because they want us to identify with the space where we live. And then they have more control that way. But really, we are citizens of the world. The only difference will be this: if we have aliens and come down here, suddenly the whole human race will come together and go, we are human and they're alien. Do we need to wait for that? To me, that's just crazy. Here, right now, we're just human beings. And that's what we are. We're the human race. And I think that's what we should be teaching our children. That's the identity. You're part of the human race, not just one thing.
Ambienzial salve, kada isto tutva kerava, on kerena manušak dena jek identiteti ko manuš, na primjer, Rusija, kaka, i kada se to identiteti, kada si samo političko, kaj to velen obari kontrola antute. Zamisli amnova zemarca sja to i planeta, poste tukava kjer zna ambienzial manuša, ambienzial kako svetos, a on si hane vanzomarce. Na, a me baraz la existe la che la stai amenza manusha, anante specificuise same quelle identità.
So what I'd love to encourage people to do is go and have a DNA test. Any person who has that will discover they're from many parts of the world, and then their ancestors are in many different countries, many different languages, many different histories. And I think that would encourage more people to travel around the world, to go and visit these places. Well, my ancestors come from these 10 different countries, and that will change people's mindsets.
So, piva che avas butte manuscendi che te chieden o testi che to denka, che te diken kai on pripadina koka više nacijenje. Kaj te putuizen posle te istražizen kako sakadla, kaj sakadla nacije kaj on pripadizna.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Definitely believing nowadays that we're only one thing, it's absolutely, it's superficial at best. Yeah, we have so many layers, and yeah, you have a basis maybe of your identity genetically speaking, but then throughout your life, we're all creating ourselves, we're creating our identities as we live. I have one final question which I would like to address to both of you. What is one memory, what is one story or something that you hope that future Roma and non-Roma generations are going to share in the future?
Sima jek pitanje so dvije, so si
I will give you because I have to think about it.
There's a very important word we use in hip hop, and the term is "we are one." And it's just so simple. There's no magic to it. There's no special boundaries or anything you have to do to be part of it. We are one is to understand there's one human race. This will stop all the division, all the hatred, all everything that's happening in the world. Once we can understand we're brothers and sisters within community and society to each other. And it's about looking after each other. For us to survive another several million years is about us understanding that together we stand, divided we all will fall, and the world will end. Because it's so easy for someone just to push a button right now and game over. We have to realize we are one. And once we can live by that, the whole world will be a better place.
Cecile Canut poznata po hip-hop, a kada si amencia mie. Kana razuniza skada lapi, amencia mie, kad ženaske amencia mie nacije. Samo šalu svetost. Kaj te amente doživiza span na milionija veršavera, a men mora svatizas suznacizla kada, se abzis, na primjer, jekedu masa celo sveto šalu štizatnes, a realmente doživizas, a men mora svatizas suznacizla kada, amencia mie, nacija em manusha.
Okay, I wanted to think about this question because it's not sure, but that I will have a good idea. But I think, in fact, that the main thing I hope is that the Gaji Award, all the academia, all the academic places and institutions, that they think about the Roma history and they let spaces and all what we need to hear about their story. So maybe that's what I want. I don't want to see, like I see last year, one person when I spoke about my film and she said, but why it's so important? Why what we care about that? So that I hope I will never hear more and that I hear more and then I will. And so we will hear more all the very beautiful thing that we know that we will see in the movies and all. So thank you very much for your very beautiful questions too.
So me si sai că te trecassi, că ai messo di mangiavasi, că ai sacca la accademia, se toverghen je tan, că ai ca material pisatelj, că ai istoria, a nas što cinema exclučaj, kaj akademija je Suschiamente Pirenisa, Sohala Bengali. Na, ame magakaj Saule Tijane, kaj si tako važno, kaj to veliko akademično, to veliko je kan Saule.
This discussion today has definitely reminded us that it's not that we're just born with a certain identity, with certain memories that we inherit, the culture and so on. It is also what we do, also develop it in the future, and to work together towards the future, to build it together. I would like to thank both of you for your perspectives, for being here today with us, for bringing your backgrounds and your experiences to the stage today. And I would like to open the conversation to the audience. Do we have any questions from anyone? Please take your time now to kind of ask any questions, to engage to any of the two panelists we have present.
Grazie per me, na siam di ande jek identitisa nego lernamente pidizas so kavas. Isto zahvalizame panelistiem posljednjazi sa Karim, Ramagatu Terav, o pitanje ste odgovorja. Ako komendate želite publikacije se pitanje s bazem Marova se
Do we have any questions?
Así que pitanje.
Standing up, feels like being on the stage. And you guys are doing great, and I would be nervous, but something more I have to do at 3 p.m. Anyways, my name is Lyndon Benisha. I'm one of the co-founders of Time Department for Royal Film Festival. It is a great honor. It is a great honor to have been part of every Rolling Film Festival as well in one or another way. Congratulations, Rina, on wonderful moderation, Cecile, the wonderful panel, and Pobit as well, for being a real proof of the transformational coaching. That has been really impressive. The question I want to make is about you got me there, and we've gone through a lot. I have seen, and perhaps I have even felt myself on my own skin, that a lot of Roma who have gone through a lot tend to just pull back and side in the corner, especially what you've gone through. You know, being a Roma is not easy. It takes safe space to be yourself, and once you just have one little doubt that there is perhaps no safe space, and that maybe 1 in 100 people may tell you something about that you're a Roma or label you, you will not risk it. Now, my question to you is, what is your answer to all those people that actually corner up in, at the side of the room? And what is it that you have to tell us what to do? You talked to us about the Cognac method. It is really beautiful, but there must be something more that you can tell us. You can tell these people that are feeling like, pulling back, actually being very shy, something you're completely opposite. You're radiating energy, you're radiating role modeling.
Thank you.
Тук първо нещо, когда се включвам близ си ачал утро ма, док наведен jek tanka i šest izem preslovno, to on kada su si pitanje si to bisi kada si Roma, jaka je butnatna, se bebi baška si Roma, cimne pesko kraje su povena budlađutne, na pokažiznat pesko dama na šta su si. Dok u tobi, na kilo, isto kada su nakon sa put Roma, u stvari nosi kret, a ve. Ona ne lađutno, nego u stvari sa su tikna, la fizla, svjetska pozitivna energija, gjalla tale, cred si diferent katro butro maso kjera, kachino skočoškos, a potrobi gjalla anglal henko javno načini ulpare en biasa fisla.
Thank you. For me, I would start with the word you said, your company you represent, Amarotan. If a Roma understands what that means, to me means, Amarotan means our place, our home, our being. If you know what you deserve, you already feel different. If you believe the world that you're less because you're Roma, you're stupid because you're Roma, you're never going to achieve nothing because you're Roma. If you believe those lies, they are true because they are going to hold you back forever. But if you meet people like me, and there's millions of others like me out there in the world who are Roma, it suddenly gives you a fire in your belly, evidence that it's possible. Many of the Roma that go back and feel shy and scared is because they haven't seen someone. Once you see it and you know it's possible, oh my God, the things are impossible, what can happen? Same thing I will go back to is this. Don't know if how many of you know of the history from the first airplane. People said it's impossible. There were these two brothers who wouldn't quit, who wouldn't give up. Science said it's impossible. They tried and tried and tried till they had the first liftoff. Once they did that, everyone else started copying, and now we can fly all around the world. So we need one inspiration. We need one motivation. And for me, Amarotan is the place. Is where people can go see their own people, hear their own people. Because yes, we don't have TV channels, radios, everything all around the world where Roma people can see it. So our people are terrified. And they have the right to be so because the trauma we went through as people still go through to today. It is difficult to see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's difficult when I sit here today and I tell you it's possible. And you ask me the question, but how? Do you know what we need to do then? Me and these people need to sit down and show them it's possible. And like I said, I'm not just one. There's millions of me out there in the world, Roma like me, who have done amazing. But we need to give them the platform to show those people to the rest of the world of Roma. Because we are capable of achieving anything. And I've met some incredible, beautiful, smart people, and they're all Roma. And even I was caught in a space where I was in this education, working with these young Roma, and I was scared. And I want to tell you why. There's one young girl, she's from Slovakia, and I come into the school to teach. And she goes to me, "Who are you?" I go, "I'm Roma." She goes, "No, you're not." I said, "What does a Roma look like?" She went, "Not like you." I went, "Oh, okay." I said, "Where do Roma come from?" She said, "They come from our village." "Ah, so if they don't come from your village, they're not Roma." She said, "No, only Roma come from my village." She's 15, she has an iPhone. Now that's scary. That this young girl didn't have a clue that we have Roma all around the world. Now that's scary to me. And this is why Amarotan is so important. Because our children are going to use social media. Let's use social media to educate our people, to show them the possibilities and capabilities of our culture. And that's to me. And the only reason I'm here, because of my grandmother. My grandmother was a tough woman, strong, brave, courageous. That's the only reason I am the way I am. My grandmother survived the Holocaust when she was a baby. When the Russians came in and freed them, my grandmother was left out on her own in the world. She was only like 5 years old, a little baby, with no family. She was left to walk and to fight for herself. Another Roma family took her in. Then she became a woman, got married, lived her life and everything. But today, I remember my grandmother. She was a very strong, tough woman. And she was tough because she had to be. And the one thing in our culture, we all talk about tough love. I've seen a lot of tough, but something that we're missing is that love. And that's something I would love to bring back. This whole love for our culture, love for our language, love for our community. This whole thing of being together, the whole thing to be Kitana as Roma people. So for me, to all those people who are afraid, there's a very famous song, and it says, Devlab Khanel, Madara. And to me, this is the key. Don't be afraid. Take a risk. Thank you.
Teoria kaj kriptonitsko pitanje, magati pošmiza, platforma se ki pošmiza cara Amarotan, kaj si tani but važno, soste, va but Roma si tane Petršana, Lađana, Kina Peskog Krajos, ali si manuša na siume jedino, nego si milionja manuša po svetos, kaj si tane sarme, kaj balazna manušenje te vakereli kaj ženo, kaj Roma, na netane pohari nego avea, nego Roma si tane so orman na tove. Kod lesti kad je platforma i aplikacija Marotan si but važno kaj Roma, idem pesavare kaj tam kad iken, kada ken manušen sarmande kaj vakena kosiume, kaj si tane ponosno prapesti. Si ne je čaj Dešu pađe vršenji kaj mesiuma sa učitelji, kaj na fuđasma konsijantu be vakeravala kaj mesium ro, oj vakeras nato, na sijan ro. Pošto me kućavala, a sad je kom tišova, vakela na sartu. I me asanju, pošto je kućavala pale, a katar si oroma kaj živizna, oj vakeras katar mirima pala. I kada si manji strašno. Kana je čaj dešu pađe vršenji, sila Facebook, sila telefoni, a nađalna posi Roma. Kad lesti platforma sa kakjava Amarotanjek aplikacija, si kaj amen šaj kas povote manušenje kakjava. The rest, I don't know what was it.
So maybe just add the story about my grandmother,
Yes,
about the strength. Yeah.
Je historia mesu somagat otirav kaj katarmo mamos, mea karinga sium sebe pilakoro, suske oj kana sine tani beba, oj sine ko holokaust, oj na kjas but, oj sine la samo panč veš kana Rusija oslobodi Izrael kato holokaust, ali oja čisa skorkori bi ni kasko, aver porodica romani dasta peste, kaj pa kada ove barini, prandosari, saka dao se od na kjas, kjas na jak, na kaj si nea nego mora sajto veljako. Saka da, kad je jačina, saka da me so uspizum si sebe ki merema Mosko, kaj čum lati gositani veljako.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions from the audience?
Pitanje Katar Republika.
Okay, I don't think so.
No.
Where do we?
No, he's hiding.
Right?
No, that's it.
I think so. Just
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much
Thank you.
for being here, really for taking your time and effort to answer my questions, the others' questions. We really appreciate your presence. We hope that our collaboration doesn't start and end here, definitely. I hope that this is not your first time and last in Kosovo, but you will be back, maybe some other projects, maybe personal vacations, but it was more than a pleasure having you here today. Thank you also everyone who joined. Next, we're gonna follow up with film screenings with a co-member from Scientia Arena, and the rest of the program that you may also find in the catalog and in our website as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Republika, isto zahvalizama sa ovim posjena Karin, oven sa ste, a kanal kan stavizas programista, kolasitane o filmja, kaj še je kako.
Brilliant. Thank you.
One photo, please. One. You can take your photos. This one. This, because he also